you inspired me to watch Wasted, which was awesome. Accepted that homework, and I'm so grateful I did. Has anyone in the audience seen Wasted on Hulu? Super, I can't recommend it enough. Daily Table is featured in it. It's amazing. It's amazing to wake you up to a degree. A third of our food produced is wasted. And 90% of that in the United States goes into landfill. And when food goes into landfill, that turns into methane. So essentially, like Doug, mentioned to me, these international agreements we have, we can't meet the international agreements to reduce greenhouse gas emissions unless we address this waste and food ecological systems. It won't happen. And if you want to bring that one step further, I believe something along the lines of 25% or more of our water that is in limited supply, usable water, goes into this wasted food. So, this is just like and the last fact that's really stuck with me, because again, I think I'm gonna shift the question to messaging, is we use 2.5 planets worth of resources right now. And that's just can't happen. Where there's no way we can sustain this beautiful society that I'm so grateful and I have so much gratitude to be in unless we address these things.
Efficiency really matters in this, and finding ways to get critical mass behind the good that we want to deliver, the better nutrition that we want to deliver is important, because with critical mass comes economies of scale, comes higher throughput, higher efficiency, less total cost, less total waste. So, waste is what we throw away, but it's also what we waste in terms of time or money getting something to where it is. Governments can be very useful in adjusting the price in the economy to incentivize outcomes, like they did with solar panels, like they did with electric cars, like they're doing with lettuce. Delighted to hear that is happening. And I think Doug's venture, while he won't congratulate himself as much as others will, a nonprofit that is really responding to market forces, looking at it as a business problem, is a really useful thing in solving this, because at the end of the day, you need money, you need resources, you need people, and you need efficiency. And the nutrition in the food is just one of the kinds, it's just one of the ends. In terms of waste, we have to remember that waste exists in a lot of different ways. That grouping together to create critical mass can reduce the cost and reduce the waste that goes into these better outcomes. I think government's role in adjusting the price outcome, incentivizing donation, incentivizing the creation of healthier food absolutely plays a role in reducing waste long term.
Turns out that, of course, global warming should have been called global fever, because as we all know, if our body, which is a closed circle, a tightly run systemic organism like the planet, if we suddenly go from 98.6 to 102, which is only 3 degrees or 4 degrees, we would die if we sustained that for any real length of time. And yet we're like, well, so what if it goes up another 3-4 degrees? Hey, here in Massachusetts, that sounds pretty good most of the time. And the answer is, no, there's a global fever. Well, waste is the same way. In my opinion, because the government named this, and named it like they would consumer price index or some really, unemotional academic name. So food waste to me, for those of us that are English majors, I'm not, like you may be, that waste is the noun and food is the modifier. So what is this stuff? It's waste. Well, waste sounds like, okay, it's a sanitation department problem. Why should I get enthusiastic about this? But you take the two words and you flip them, you have the reality. It's food being wasted. And suddenly you have a totally different emotional response. Like ask how many people, hey, what do you think about reducing food waste? It's kind of like, well, I'm kind of in favor of that in theory. I'm glad that someone else is taking care of it. It's like, hey, what do you think about us reducing the amount of food that's being wasted? It's just a very different emotional response. So what happened is, we frankly haven't branded this right at all. Because the other thing people go is like, well, really, why? Okay, at the end of the day, there's so many problems in the world. Why should we care about that one? And as obviously Tom was mentioning, we should care. If food being wasted was a separate country in the world, it would be the third largest generator of greenhouse gases behind China and the US. I'm optimistic that there's lots of creative energies, solutions, and activities, particularly among younger generation, that really care about making this planet work. And so I'm encouraged personally. And I'm not too worried about Dollar General at scale, because even Dollar General at scale is starting to change. They're thinking about putting in fresh fruits and vegetables because they didn't have it all before. So it's like, wow, if they start putting in fresh fruits and vegetables for that clientele, that could be actually a really positive impact. It's only they're at massive scale.
Especially if the farmer's market idea to doubling the food bucks makes its way to Dollar General, suddenly this once considered insidious at the beginning of the question force in nutrition in America could actually become a very positive force. Now, we live in a world where good ideas can spread, and they can spread faster than they ever used to be able to. So, there's part of it that's experimenting and finding solutions and then testing them and then scaling them. I think, if that circuit gets made, I'll consider that a big win for our country and the world.